Hello, welcome back to my YouTube channel. I'm so happy you're here. So today we're talking about something that I am extremely passionate about, and this is aligning our lives to our menstrual cycles. Now, why am I so incredibly passionate about this? Because I didn't discover this information until I was around 30, 31. I am now going to be turning 34 next week. So I've been living this way for the last at least 3, 4-ish years. A little bit of a background. So I was in an, we can say, emotionally abusive relationship. I've done a ton of work on myself since then. I have been single since then because I am not the type of girly who jumps from relationship to relationship. But I had gotten myself in deep in that relationship, and it was the type where I was always on edge, I was always alert. We shared a house, but he also lived part time in a different house. And when he would come in, I would be on edge right away. I would be trying to make sure the house was clean, everything was organized, because he was very emotionally unpredictable and emotionally explosive. Obviously, I've done the work to recognize what part of me was attracting those type of people into my life at the time. Big people pleaser, have since been working really hard on my people pleasing wounding. And many women are the same way. Many of us start out as people pleasers because we are actually so emotionally sensitive and empathetic, and we can feel the emotions that other people are experiencing. And then our safety mechanism is to adapt who we are or how we show up in order to keep that other person feeling safe or keep their emotions tempered, because the emotional expression feels unsafe to us, or how they're able to handle their emotions or not able to handle them makes our nervous systems feel unsafe. Now, as we grow and as we expand and as we become more safe in our own bodies and with our own emotions, that level of safety that our nervous system can hold shifts, and we are no longer as affected by other people's emotions. We're also not trying to fix or change, whatever. So with that relationship, so much learning and growing happening. Yet I started studying feminine energy when I was actually dating this man. A big part of what got me to go down this path was that I didn't feel sexy, and I wanted to feel sexy in my body. And as I was going down the path and becoming more embodied and connecting more with my higher self, I realized, oh my gosh, this person is not treating me the way I deserve to be treated. I am not getting to show up as my authentic self, and I have no space for my own needs and to actually discover what is going on in my body and how my body best functions. So, one thing that is super important when you are going down the path of learning to live in alignment with your cycle is that you make sure you give yourself the space to be able to learn these things and to experiment and to try things out. Because if you have not been living this way, it's not just going to happen overnight where you shift your living by the 24-hour clock in the men's world, living that way, into living with your cycle. This isn't an overnight thing that happened. For me, yes, I had to leave behind all of the patterns and all of the situations that were inhibiting me from being able to live this way. So people who weren't in my life, who weren't accepting me for who I really am, or giving me the space to live in my truest expression. All of that had to shift. I found myself alone in the country in my grandma's old house with a complete blank slate. And I was like, perfect. This is when I can actually start implementing this living in alignment with my cycle method into my life, because I'd been studying it, I'd been learning about it, I've been trying to apply it, but was in this place where I had no space and time for myself. So as you are trying to, or intending to, shift your life over to this cyclical way of living, things are going to change. There are going to be things that feel uncomfortable. There might be arguments with the people who are used to you being one way and now you're going to start to be another way, right? People who like you the way you were sometimes are uncomfortable with you changing because it shows them things too, right? So that's something that can happen. You're going to need to give yourself more time, more space. However much you're resting, give yourself more space to rest. You're not resting enough, I can guarantee. Now I know we we have to work, we have families. Some of you watching this are mothers. We don't have all the time in the world. We do share who we are with these children that we've created. I understand all of that, but also understanding that when we are able to give ourselves the best of what we can give ourselves, it also positively impacts everyone else around. So making it a priority to carve out little spaces for yourself to be able to give yourself these things, the courage to try to do things differently, is all really important. Now, our bodies as women function on a 28-day clock. So 28 to 32, some women have longer cycles, some women have shorter cycles. This is the general range that our cycle is going in a circle. It's like the seasons, right? Every month we have a cycle within us that is like the seasons of Mother Earth, because our bodies are made of physical matter, earth, air, fire, water. Our bodies are made of these things, just like the earth. So we actually function similarly to how the earth functions. So think about 365 days that the earth goes through her cycle. You are going through your own mini version of that in 28 days. Most of us are trying to live the entire 365 days like it's spring. Spring all year round. That's how most of us are trying to live, because our world has been created in alignment with the 24-hour clock, which is how a men's hormones work. Men's testosterone peaks and falls. Every day, rise and fall, rise and fall. Every single day, their cycle is a lot shorter than ours, or ours goes 28 to 32. So if we're stretching out 24 hours into full 28 days, that's going to look a lot different for how we produce, how we create, the pace that we are moving through life. And when we learn to sync up with this and align our tasks, align our exercises, align what we eat, align our social activities, our date nights, our presentations, the more we can understand how our hormones work and align all of the areas of our life with this clock, the more successful our lives are going to be, the more energy we're going to have day in and day out. I don't know about you, but for me, like, the biggest thing I seek is energy. If I'm tired, my whole entire day is ruined. Like, I'm going to be thinking about sleep, trying to get a nap in, whatever it might be, the entire rest of the day. I might be a little grouchier. I might not be as turned on or as like plugged in as I typically would be. And for someone like me who is working hands-on with humans, really important that I am that I am in my prime, that I am here, that I am connected. Like, for me to provide the services that I provide, for me to show up and hold space for these women going through these incredibly emotional things, completely changing their lives, I have to take incredibly good care of myself. The best care of myself, actually pristine care of myself. Honestly, the things I should be writing off on my tax bill, and the things I do write off, if we're being completely fair, all the things that help me to be in my optimal state. Because when I am my best self, I am putting out the best vibration, and therefore I'm creating from the most authentic place. So like, when we're run down, tired, not connected, not doing our self-care, whatever it might be, that's how we're showing up and that's the energy that we're putting out. Now, if we have big dreams, if we can see these visions for ourselves for the future and we are showing up day in and day out, putting energy towards these dreams, wouldn't we want to be showing up with the energy that is going to like catapult those dreams? Like if you show up at tired and hungover and ate a bunch of crap yesterday and whatever else, you show up as that version of you, and you're having a conversation with someone really important who could potentially be your next big client or whatever else, they're going to feel that energy. Versus if you show up vibrant, full of life, ate some food that made you feel good, whatever it might be. And the caveat here is like, you don't even have to have eaten the food that makes you feel good. How you feel about yourself is the vibration, right? That's like the little sidecars. But when we are taking care of our body in a way that supports her rather than works against her, the whole rest of our life goes smoother. The more energy we have day in and day out, the more opportunities that come with us, the more we're living in flow and in alignment with that timeline that is bringing us towards these dreams that we have. So getting your people pleasing under control, making sure we honor our yes, we honor our no. These are all important things that we're also going to have to incorporate into our lives as we start to live more cyclically. How often we're feeling energized versus drained. If we're constantly producing, we're, running those burners on overdrive, eventually they're going to burn out, and eventually we're just going to crash because we've been going, pedal to the metal all the way. Eventually we're going to crash. Now, if we go in alignment and we give ourselves those little time to rest and we give ourselves permission to rest and we work through all of that conditioning and all of that, what society says and everything else, and we go against the grain and we try it out and we're brave, and the more we do that, then we don't get that burnout. Okay, so this is a huge factor in healing burnout, is living cyclically. That's a hard word. Cyclically. So another way to begin to live in alignment with your body and your feminine energy, think of things you do besides work. List 3 things that you do right now besides work. How can you describe if I was to ask, how are you? And your first response is, I am so busy. You are not living in alignment with your cycle. Okay? Usually we overdo it, especially in the first half of our cycle, because that is when our energy is supporting us to show up and do the work. And so this is another reason why we need balance, because if we overdo it in the first half, we really pay for it in the second half. Now, people know that, PMS, the luteal phase, it's the crappy phase, it's the gross phase, it's the crunchy phase, it's the bloaty phase, it's the ugly phase, it's the grouchy phase. It doesn't have to be. If we're living in alignment for all of the phases of the month, the luteal phase actually can be quite a productive, energized, structured phase. The last couple days before the period, yeah, okay, they suck for pretty much everyone, but then the period comes, and when you're in alignment with your cycle, getting your period isn't so bad because your hormones are shifting. And the more if you start to add in these little things every month, like I said, don't try to go 0 to 100. Just starting to add in little bits and pieces of, some people do the nut cycling, so they'll eat different nuts on different phases of their cycle. Some people do exercise cycling, so they'll do different exercises. You can start to put it in your calendar, organizing your work functions or your socializing. And when you look at it as more of a 28-day cycle, you can also see where you might be overdoing it. Do you go out every single weekend with your friends? Maybe. you're only meant to go out one weekend with your friends a month, and you're meant to spend one weekend alone, and you're meant to spend one weekend creating something. Maybe you go weekly, and different weeks you are doing different activities. Maybe you have a big project or a big important conversation or a date night you want to plan. You can plan all of these things to when it's going to be supportive for your cycle. There are other benefits to aligning with your cycle. It improves your immune system. Usually people who have autoimmune disease, they have an estrogen dominance, but as you live in alignment with your cycle, your hormones naturally balance. Hormonal issues are what cause a lot of issues for women. Okay, so start aligning with your cycle can start to heal these problems before they happen, or counteract the problems that are already happening. But estrogen dominance is a big reason why people get autoimmune disease. Your metabolism, people who struggle with their weights, being overweight, being underweight, once again, this is your hormones. And so certain foods are going to work as fuel at different points of the month, and certain foods that have actually maybe even been tabooed, like salty foods, are good for you at certain parts of the month. It helps with your gut microbiome, which we hear so much talk about the gut microbiome. And when your gut microbiome is balanced, your body is going to be able to fend off disease, fend off bacteria. It's going to help with symptoms of ADHD, obesity, arthritis. Your microbiome is linked to so much and is affected by your hormones. So what is all of this cycle syncing doing? It is helping to balance your hormones. Why are our hormones out of balance? Because we have been living in a 24-hour clock. We have not been educated on a 28-day clock. When we live in alignment with the 28-day clock, we support our hormones. Hormones being out of balance is a huge problem for a huge number of women in a huge variety of areas. All right? Helping with your stress response. It helps when you are ignoring your hormones and ignoring your cycle. It affects your decision making, your moods, your nervous system. Too much stress affects your sex life, affects fertility, and the different chemicals that are released can interfere with the natural cycle. So this is what starts to cause irregular periods, fertility problems, no libido, all of these things. Syncing to your cycle or not syncing to your cycle is going to have an impact in every area of your life. When you're used to living one way, you can't always see the benefits of living another way until you try it out. And when you've only ever seen one example or one way of living, other ways of living can seem weird or different or wrong, or like you're lazy. No, you're not lazy. You're literally just listening to your body. Okay? So many benefits to living in alignment with your cycle. So now we're going to get into the different phases of the cycle and different exercises, foods, activities, etc. that we can do during these different phases that can help to support us in our cycle. Like I mentioned, if you've been living one way, trying to totally switch everything over all in 1 month is going to be a lot. It's going to be probably too much. So I suggest taking one thing that you can switch every month, reflecting on it during your menstrual phase of the next cycle, and maybe adding one more thing in. I've been doing this for like 3 years. Now everything happens naturally. Now I can literally feel when my body is shifting from one phase to the next because I'm that in tune with my body. I can feel and know what foods my body is craving and listen to that. So it doesn't have to be so structured and so written out. I know when my energy levels are maybe a little bit lower, when I've maybe overdone it a little bit. I know what exercises are going to support me. And I am constantly every day checking in with my body, checking in with how I'm feeling, checking in with my mood, checking in with myself, making sure that things are feeling optimal and good, and adjusting when they aren't feeling that way. So this is a way of life. This is a way of living. This isn't a quick fix. Oh, we change it. We do this for a little bit and then we go back. This is actually going to be something that you incorporate into your life and actually changes your life over time. But don't try to do it all at once. Pick the part that sticks out to you the most, and then every cycle, change one thing until eventually it's just habit. It's just happening. It's just natural. You're not even thinking about it anymore. You're literally just living this way now, and you have all this energy, and you're vibrant, and you're feeling young, and you're feeling energized, and you're feeling in alignment, and you're creating, and things have just changed. So, yes, I also like to keep track on a calendar. So I use a paper calendar where I literally just write the first letter of the phase that I think I'll be in, and then I change it as I go. And so once again, over time, I've learned how long my cycle is. So if something is out of whack, I notice it right away. If my period comes early or late or whatever might be happening, I know what's going on in my body. And so I can feel if something's a little bit off. Okay, so first up, follicular phase. Now, the first day of your cycle actually is when you get your period. So that's technically like if you're counting days of your cycle, day 0, day 1 would be the very first day of your period. However, I see the period as the end of the last cycle and the follicular as the beginning of the next cycle. Because when we're going through a period, we are shedding, we are reflecting. It's almost like the closing of that chapter and the beginning of the next chapter. Now, how exciting that every single month we get a fresh, brand new chapter. We get a fresh, brand new start. This is a good time to start new activities, start new projects. I always feel this like, okay, fresh month, energy when my follicular phase starts. So this is happening right after your bleed ends. We're open to new things, new beginnings. It's a great time to take the intentions that you've been thinking about during your period and start to get those intentions out there. So what do we want to accomplish this month? What's important to us this month? So the hypothalamus in our brain is kicking off the process by signaling to our pituitary gland that it needs to start to send a hormone to our ovaries. This hormone is called FSH, follicular stimulating hormone, and it sends this signal down and it's saying, hey, get some eggs to mature. So your ovaries, which are the size of a grape, contain all of the eggs that they will ever have your entire life. And as the estrogen is rising slowly but surely, you are also beginning to create the uterine lining. So everything is fresh, new, fresh start. Foods that will support your hormones in this follicular stimulating hormone releasing, estrogen rising phase are lighter foods. Our metabolism is a little bit slower, actually. We want foods that are good for liver detoxification and plant-based compounds that will mimic the body's natural estrogen. So as the body is rising in estrogen, we also want to be eating foods that will support this rise in estrogen. Things like kimchi and sauerkraut, veggies, lean proteins, sprouted beans, seeds, nutrient-dense grains. By eating fermented foods in this phase, you are priming your body to be ready for ovulation. So think light, fresh, crisp, delicious foods, leafy greens, nutrient rich oats. Exercise for this phase. So your energy is rising, your estrogen is rising, your energy is rising. We want to wake the body up. Cardio is good here. You're open to new ideas. So if you were thinking ever about starting a new class, this is a great time to start a new class. Mix up the old routine. Your body is going to react well to the hardcore workouts. So like if you do do martial arts or high intensity training or hiking, dancing, jump rope. This is a good phase to boost the energy in the body, to get the sweat going. If your hormones are imbalanced, or you've been trying to lose weight or struggling with anxiety and depression, you don't want your workouts to be longer than 30 minutes. Going more than 30 minutes, it's going to push your body into stress. It's going to push it into this fat storing mode. So 30-minute workouts is all that your body really needs when you're in this healing, restoring phase, when you very first start aligning with your cycle, which is crazy, kind of counterintuitive to what we've been taught. Harder is better, longer is better. No, actually, your body is going to be most happiest and functioning optimally with about a 30-minute workout. This is a really creative time. It's a great time to dream big, to brainstorm, to initiate new things, plan and prepare. Be curious, set intentions, figure out what you would like to accomplish and get started on it. The estrogen rising is really good for your memory. It's really good for handling more complex tasks, scheduling your most mentally challenging parts of your month at this beginning in this phase is going to serve you well. So if you're looking at the month ahead and you have a big project or you have a big something big due, getting it started early is the best time when you have the most energy. If you think about a man's day, 24 hours, usually you would structure the most challenging tasks at the start of the day when there is the most energy. We're going to think about this the same way for this phase of the cycle. Now, the problem is we get stuck in this phase. This is technically the phase that mimics most how a man would operate. We have this energy, we have this ambition, we have this motivation. We have to be careful not to overdo it during the follicular phase because we will pay for it in the late luteal phase. So keeping in mind that just because you have all this energy, you still want to give yourself space to rest, give yourself downtime, not overschedule your tasks. It has been so helpful for me to think longer, think long term, think big picture, because we try to cram so much into every month, but when we give ourselves 1 or 2 or 3 good solid tasks every month and we can keep that up, it's going to serve us well in the long term. It's not going to burn us out. Then we're moving into the ovulation phase. This is like our summer phase. Our brains this is like our peak of our hormones. We are stimulated by our hormones. It's a good time for you to have important conversations, to be with your community. You're very magnetic. There's a huge rise in your estrogen and the luteinizing hormone, which is the hormone that is going to stimulate one egg to fully mature and be released down the fallopian tube. So your egg is making its way down to the uterus where there is this beautiful, lush lining. All the immune cells are here. This is like, it's, primed up, ready, fluffy bed for this egg to be coming down. Everything is lush and good and juicy at this time of your life. At this time of your life. But yes, this time of your life that happens every month. You're social, communicative. If you have a big important project or a date, or you're launching a program, or you have an announcement to make, you want to be doing it during this part of your cycle. The part where if you're like, okay, I want to be in my prime, feeling myself, looking my best, what would I schedule for that time of the month? That's where you want it to be. You're going to want to eat foods that help balance this spike of the estrogen and support your heart. If you don't eat the right foods, your estrogen could go too far, which is what causes people to experience acne. So we're in a hot phase. Our body is producing a lot of heat. So it's a great phase to eat the raw foods or the smoothies. Something that actually is kind of interesting is smoothies aren't that great for us during most phases of our cycle because of the coldness of the smoothie. We actually want our body to be warm and hot a lot of the times as women, because that is what is supporting, that's what's making our body feel safe, really. So if we're eating a lot of raw foods, cold foods, um, during cold phases of our cycle, it's gonna make our body feel a little bit nervous or unsafe. But this phase where our body is running hot is a great time for salads, smoothies, veggies and fruit, things that have these cooling effects, antioxidants. You don't need as many carbs, but so you do want grains like quinoa or corn. Um, the foods in this phase that you eat, you're going to want are going to be foods that support warding off acne, and creating the healthiest egg possible. So fiber-rich foods, which is going to help your liver flush the estrogen out. So all the liver that is being metabolized, or sorry, all of the estrogen that is being metabolized by your body right now, we want to support the flushing of this estrogen. If we can't flush it, then we get things like acne. Your estrogen and your testosterone are peaking. So for exercise, think peaking exercises, kickboxing, Muay Thai, HIIT workouts, sprints, those hardcore weightlifting is also, it could also be a great time for adding some weightlifting in there. It's your socialness is your main skill at this point. So your strength is with your communication, with your collaboration, with your community. So any community-minded activities, great time for this. Pitching ideas, being seen, talking about your plans, collaborating with others. Connecting with others is the heart of this phase. It is when you most want to connect. Then we're moving into our luteal, which happens between usually 10 to 14 days into the cycle. So 10 to 14 days after day 0, the bleed happens. This is a really good time for like detail-oriented tasks, structured tasks, bringing things to completion. So all the things you started in your follicular, you want to start to be wrapping it up during this phase. Anytime, any places maybe where your boundaries were crossed, you want to be having those important conversations, speaking up for yourself. You will, any places where you are not honoring your boundaries are going to become exasperated in this phase. So it's interesting. There are studies done on women and couples where for some reason they're always getting in arguments during this phase of the cycle, and then things go around and then they come back getting in the same argument again, and it happens to always be during this phase. The thing is, it's always an issue, but it's only being shown that it's an issue during the luteal phase. The rest of the phase, the hormones are doing the job to kind of cover it up, or the people pleasing is happening. But then the hormones aren't there to patch things up during this phase, because this is the phase where all of the hormones drop. And that's where these irritations come out. So it's not that you are always PMSing or being emotional or dramatic. Sometimes actually it's highlighting the areas that are not in alignment, where you actually have some work to do with your boundaries or standing up for yourself or speaking your truth. So paying attention to what is coming up during this luteal phase. So what is happening in your body, the follicle that the egg was released from grows, which is what is sparking your progesterone to rise. Your estrogen levels are continuing to rise, padding the uterine lining, and the rise in progesterone is signaling to the body to keep it in place, because it is anticipating that there's going to be a fertilized egg that is coming in. The rise is also telling your pituitary gland to stop releasing the FSH and the LH, because those are the hormones that are saying, hey, drop the egg, send the egg. And now the egg has been dropped and has been sent, and it's getting ready to attach to the uterus that has had everything prepared and ready. So then the egg comes, and if it isn't fertilized, it becomes reabsorbed into the body And this is the point where all the hormones have reached their peak and now they begin to fall. So the luteal phase is a time of completion. The whole process has happened. Either the egg has been fertilized and now we're moving into pregnancy, or the egg has not been fertilized and now everything is getting ready to shed and drop. We have peaked and we are valleying, okay? Normal process of life. We get to live it every single month. Lucky us. You want to eat fiber-rich foods. We want to support the large intestine because the progesterone is increasing, which is slowing our digestion. Nutrient-dense food. Nutrient-dense foods are supporting because our metabolism is speeding up during this time. We need more calories. If you don't eat more calories, you're going to have things like sugar cravings. So by proactively eating, you're going to slow the burning of carbs, things like sweet potatoes, brown rice, and that's going to shift your body to emphasize the foods that are rich in B vitamins. Collard greens, water greens, mustard greens. We want foods that are high in calcium, high in magnesium, high in fiber, high in B vitamins. We want to support the body in this getting ready to shed process. We want foods that are going to support the liver, the large intestine, flush out that estrogen, chickpeas, pears, walnuts. And once everything has dipped, we want to eat some healthy sugars, roasted or baked root vegetables. Eating more nutrient-dense foods are going to help to prevent energy dips. So more nutrient-dense foods in this time of cycle. Hormones are doing all the things here. We need to support the body, which is going to then support our mood. So B vitamins, fiber, nutrient-dense foods, more foods during this phase to help the body flush out the estrogen. During the first half of this phase, your estrogen and your testosterone are still elevated, so you still have a good amount of energy, but you want to support this energy lasting. So it's not the best time for the high intensity workouts, the hard cardio workouts. It's a great time for the strength training workouts, kind of the lower intensity, but still, moderately hard workouts. Maximizing the muscle gains during this phase. As you start to shift into the late luteal phase, which is when your hormones are really dipping, you might feel called to slow strength training, yoga, gentle yoga, stretching. You might naturally feel called to doing less intense workouts because your energy is going through a dip in these last few days. This is the phase where we want to get things done. Think like, oh, I'm about to go on a vacation. What do I got to get done? The vacation in this sense is you getting your period. But if we're thinking that I'm about to go on vacation, what needs to get completed? What has to get done this cycle so that I can feel good going into the next cycle? Accomplishing your project, your goals, getting things organized, making sure all the bills are paid, making sure you made all the phone calls you needed to make, making sure that you crossed your I's and dotted your T's, getting your house tidied up, getting your administrative tasks done, all of these things. We're starting to bring that focus from outward to inward. So what needs to get done so that I can start to go inward? Your brain is naturally wired to see and notice the things that you didn't see before. So it's naturally inclined to start tying up its responsibilities, the things that you might have ignored or overlooked. Networking is slowing down and we're starting to go inward so that we're not exhausted in the next cycle. And then we enter the menstrual phase. So this phase is between 3 and 7 days. For me personally, I get really bad cramps the first, not really bad actually. They're quite mild compared to what they used to be, but they're still cramps. I get some cramps the first day. It's just natural. It's what the body is doing. Natural cramps for a couple hours. Then I start my bleed. 2 days heavy bleed, 2 days light bleed. That's usually my cycle. So it's about 4 or 5 days. Your hormones have declined quickly. They're at their lowest concentrations, which means, but the two sides of your brain, your left and your right brain, it's actually the best time for them to communicate. So your analytical side and your feeling side are the most imbalanced that they will be. So it's a really good time to go inward and be like, what's working, what's not, what feels good, what doesn't, where am I at with my goals, where do I want to be, how can I push the needle forward, where do I need to rest more, where am I honoring my body, where am I not, where am I honoring my emotions, where am I not. So a really great time to go and review everything that happened in the last month, how you're feeling, what changes we need to make in the next month. I completely shut myself off to the outside world for the first 2 days of my period if I can. We're so sensitive, we're so like, it's like our skin is thinner. It's like things hurt that shouldn't hurt. We're so sensitive. We do not need to have this extra stimulation happening from the outside world. We're better if we can be as closed in, cocooned, hibernating as possible. You can also tell by your blood what's going on in your body. So like different blood consistencies, colors are going to tell you if you're stressed, if you're holding on to trauma, if you're moving through things. There is healthier blood, cherry red, no clumps blood. There is unhealthier blood, brown, deep purple, lots of clots. The duration of your period is also going to give you a clue about how well you've been doing honoring your body, how in alignment you are, etc., etc. So there's so much we can learn about what happens in our period. There's so much that it can teach us for how to better support ourselves throughout the rest of our month. Because ultimately, whatever is going on with this is what's going to show up outside. So if there are things not happening, not working, emotions, situations, if there are things happening, how well we take care of ourselves is going to determine our quality of life and determine what the outside world looks like. So we should all be learning as much about ourselves as possible, learning what makes us tick, learning about our emotions, learning about our bodies. Like, that's my personal opinion. But yeah, so your estrogen peaks and then plummets before your bleed starts, which tells your hypothalamus it's about time to get ready for another cycle. So you're actually, even as everything is plummeting and you're bleeding, your brain is already sending a hormone, like signaling like, oh, we're about to start a new cycle. You want to eat foods that have a lot of micronutrients, foods that are supporting the kidneys, which are helping to balance the hormones as they drop. When the hormones are at their lowest, eat a lot of protein, eat a lot of healthy fats, eat a lot of amino acids, which is going to set you up for a healthier next cycle. Red wheat, kidney beans, buckwheat are going to help. Your body is shedding, and it is shedding the built up lining. So we want to eat foods that are going to support a really healthy next phase. This is the coldest part of your cycle, so you want to eat warm food. Blue and black berries are going to keep your blood sugar steady. Seafood, kelp, and nori help to remineralize your body, iron and zinc. If you have looser bowel movements during this time, it's because there's a lack of progesterone. So modulating your food will help to alleviate any weird poop experiences. Your hormones are at their lowest, so are your energy levels. So HIIT training is going to backfire into fat storage, which causes muscle wasting and puts stress on your body. So it's actually the best exercise you can do during this phase of your cycle is sleep. It's the best exercise you can do. Foam rolling, yin yoga, breath work, napping. Like I mentioned, it's the best time for evaluation and intuition, resting and reflecting. Be kind to yourself as you're reviewing things, tuning into your gut, trusting your instincts, reflecting on your life and your decision, journaling, reviewing what needs to shift for this upcoming month. This is going to be the starting point for your intentions for the next phase. So because your left and right brain are so good at communicating, being alone, being by yourself is the best thing you can do for your work at this project, or at this, sorry, point of the project. I don't know why I said project. This is going to be the most important thing that you can do at this time is go inward and listen to yourself. The communication between these two sides of your brain is going to help you to evaluate how you're doing in your career or with your project and identify any shifts that need to happen. Many women feel restless and dissatisfied during their period, and this is because the question here is this because you have low levels of hormones, or is this your gut's way of telling you that you need to make a change in your life? So just like I mentioned in the luteal phase, some things that come up might actually be signals of changes that need to make. The same can happen during your period. When you are in alignment and when you are in tune, your period is actually not that bad. It's actually an enjoyable. I actually like getting my period. It's a permission slip to go inward, a permission slip to listen to my body, a permission slip to do nothing, and to restore. It's like literally God's permission slip to be a lazy butt and to have that lazy buttness actually be positively impacting me and my business. Like, what a gift. So yes, so those are the 4 different phases of your cycle and different exercises and foods you can eat to help support yourself during the different phases of your cycle. There are different things that you can do to start biohacking your way to living in alignment with your cycle. So, having a monthly theme, a main thing you want to focus on every month, or a main goal that you want to accomplish, something that you can put your energy into every month, just one main theme or main goal. You can also pay attention to like where you're at in the calendar year, what season you're in, choosing a theme that is going to align with the season. If you're someone like me who has your own business, different seasons account for different things that you're trying to accomplish in business. Like I mentioned at the start, choosing foods, like maybe, okay, I'm going to start to eat in alignment with my cycle. So I'm going to eat foods that are going to support my different hormones for different phases of my cycle. If that feels a little bit too much, okay, maybe I'm going to start with the nut cycling. I didn't really mention the nuts here today. But if you're watching this video and you want to learn more, definitely message me. But certain nuts at different phases of the cycle will help to support different hormones. Checking in with your energy at the end of the day, at the end of the week, at the end of every cycle, check-ins as often as possible. Checking in, what's going on? How do I feel? How is my energy? At the end of the day, checking in, reflecting, what did I get done today? What felt good? What didn't feel good? For the ladies who are a part of my program, you actually get a period tracker and a cycle tracker to journal and to keep track of how you're feeling at different phases to help you with this process. This is a huge component of my program, and we have one full week where we focus on this as part of the process. So definitely, if my nose is starting to get itchy, this always happens when I make videos. So definitely, if this is something that is really lighting you up and you're like, oh my gosh, this is so cool, I want to do this, you could also be a great match for my program. If living in alignment with your feminine energy and living according to your feminine frequency is something you want for yourself in this life, definitely reach out and message me. But yeah, make sure you're giving yourself downtime, time to rest, time to reflect, giving yourself wiggle room. Like I mentioned, bigger picture, right? Like looking at the big picture of your life, not trying to cram so much into every single day and every single week and every single month, spreading it out, allowing yourself to have these ups and downs. It's natural, it's normal, it's the way we're supposed to operate. And the more we can come into alignment with the way that our body wants to operate, the more energy we're going to have, the more success we're going to have, the more happiness we're going to have. The vibration that we get to show up in is going to be better, which is then going to have a positive impact on everything around us. So if this hasn't convinced you to start to live in alignment with your cycle, I don't know what will. I hope this has been educational. I hope you learned something. And like I mentioned, if this is something you want to know more of, or if living in the feminine frequency, which is living in alignment with your soul, your energy, your body, all the different parts of you on all the different dimensions, if that's something that calls out to you, please send me a message. The doors for my program are currently open. It's a 13-week self-paced program. You get access to my community, to a bunch of pre-recorded modules with information like this and so much more, and some one-on-one sessions with me. You get to experience energy healing in different modalities, and there's really just so much goodness in it. I'm very proud of it. Yeah, okay. So that's all for today. This video, I don't even remember when I started it, but it has gotten very long. I hope it was educational. I hope you enjoyed it, and we will see you in the next one.